Hi, all. My name is Jennifer Lawson. I am the Water Quality Manager for the City of Ann Arbor in the Systems Planning Unit, which is housed in Public Services. Also, the Project Manager for the gravel roads stormwater analysis that is being completed citywide. We are going to be kicking off year 3 of our study tonight. Next slide, please. And I've already introduced myself. I do have some other staffers here that I would like to make sure are introduced. I do have, Jasmine, before I jump to you, 2 members of our engineering consulting team. I have John Ballant. You want to wave your hand? Thank you. And Sarah Plumer. Thank you. And then I do have city staffers Katie Dillon and Jasmine Isaac Afori, who are our community engagement specialists, joining me as we work on this project. So Jasmine, if you want to say a few words.
Yeah, so we have been at this project for about 2 years now, and we're finally entering into our phase 3, which I hope, and if not, our members here with us tonight that live in those areas. So we're here to engage with you, answer any questions you may have, and most importantly, just to let you know more about this upcoming project. So I'll turn it back to Jen, and she'll get us started here.
Oh, next few slides are yours, Jasmine.
That's right. You're so right, Jen. Next slide, please. Some quick overview things about our technology. If you're not familiar with Zoom, or if you are, just some housekeeping rules and things. Throughout the session at any time, if you have a question, you can look at the bottom of your tablet, phone, computer. There is a taskbar that has a Q&A button. Click that button, type in your question at any time during the session. And at the end of the session, we'll spend time answering those questions. But if one comes to you, feel free to drop it in. You can also raise your hand. Maybe we'll do that toward the end. We'll try to keep the presentation flowing through and through so you can save all your questions for the end. Next slide, please. And just some things to remember. Ultimately, our goal here tonight is to be able to hear questions and concerns, share with you more about the project, and have a collaborative, cooperative session. So within that session, we have to have a little bit of rules. It's important to know that this evening, while we're together, to use thoughtful language, be respectful to one another. Please critique the ideas and not the people delivering them, using thoughtful language, and of course, just creating a cooperative, collaborative space. Next slide. All right, and with that, I'll turn it back to Jen for our agenda and what we plan to chit chat about this evening.
Yeah, thanks, Jasmine. So I'll talk a little bit about why we're here today, where this project sort of came from, and what our intentions are as we move through the phase 3 of this project. I'll give a little bit of a high-level overview of how the city of Ann Arbor manages stormwater, some of the larger things that we go into as we look at capital planning, asset management, and operations and maintenance. I want to focus a little bit on project areas today. I've got North Geddes, South Geddes area, both north and south of Geddes, the Westover Park Lake area. And then we have a few little, I'll call them blips, which are sort of block long areas of gravel road that we've included in this phase 3 area. And then leaving time for any comments from attendees. So next slide. So just to give ourselves a little bit of history, we have already completed phases 1 and phase 2 of these projects. They are roughly year-long projects. And so as we're mentioned, we're going into our 3rd year of this. Our first area was the Valley Drive Evergreen subdivision, which is just south of Dexter out near M14. The second was 2 specific areas, Kimberly, just north of Packard, Alexandria, which is near Newport, and then the Swift Run area, which is way over by US 23 in Packard. So giving us some pretty sort of neighborhood-wide areas. And then this year with North and South Geddes and Westover Park, we're still looking at some of those 2 larger neighborhoods, but then picking up those larger blocks along the study area. Next. So tonight's meeting is to provide information. We are making sure that we are going out to our community, to our public, to make sure that they're aware of what we're doing, why we're doing this project, and giving you opportunities to ask questions. But it's also to sort of set some realistic expectations for what we are doing, We are not here talking about a proposed construction project. This is an analysis and study of drainage issues and concerns that are in these identified areas and looking for opportunities to improve those drainage issues and or concerns. But then again, realistically, what the city can do, what the city can't do, both public property and private property. Next slide. So just popping in, this is a good summary of all of these little tiny project areas that we're looking at. You can see on the far right of the map, thank you. We have our neighborhoods both north and south of Getty's. On the far left side of the map, we have the areas out near Jackson Road and Wagner. And then in between the two areas, we have essentially block long, maybe 2 blocks long, little areas that remain unpaved within the city. And Jasmine, did you want to try to run the poll question? We are curious to see of the attendees where you are from. And that doesn't mean where you're from in Ann Arbor, but what is your road address so we can see what neighborhood you're at?
Yep, I just launched it, so you can go ahead and type in your answer. So we'll give you all a few minutes to do that. I can see
Thank you,
it.
Jasmine.
All right. I've got 20 out of 23 people. I'll give you like 30 more seconds in case you want to answer. And if not, it's totally optional, no pressure.
Gives us a good idea of the attendees from the neighborhood and then helps us identify areas that maybe don't have any representation.
All right, we're going to wrap the poll up here. So we'll end that. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jasmine. Next slide, John. So this is a little bit of the context and more of the overview of how the city manages stormwater. So stormwater is the rainfall that falls from the sky that that lands on our roads, our sidewalks, our trees, our rooftops, our sidewalks, buildings, grassy areas, all the rain that falls on the city of Ann Arbor. The city, however, works to maintain a system that manages this stormwater so it reduces the risk of impact to structures, to properties, to residents, also while improving water quality. So it's not just the pipes in the road, it's not just the pipes underground. There's a whole litany of what we consider stormwater management in the city of Ann Arbor. And it's flood mitigation, it's water quality improvement. So you might not necessarily see some of that stormwater infrastructure. It is underground, but we do manage a significant portion of our stormwater infrastructure above ground as well. Next slide. So we sort of consider it in 3 different buckets, if you will, of how we manage stormwater. The gray infrastructure is what everyone traditionally thinks of is the pipes and the catch basins and the paved surfaces where we're sort of channeling water from one point to another. Our green infrastructure has 2 sort of branches, if you will, the natural green infrastructure, what Mother Nature has created for us in our creeks and streams and natural conveyance, as well as our trees, which provide not only uptake of additional water, but they also sort of soften the water as it falls, and that tree canopy does absorb stormwater as well. That includes, no, previous slide. We're not done, you're too quick. That also includes the built green infrastructure, and that's sort of how we've used Mother Nature's techniques in a man-made way, where we design detention basins, rain gardens, bioswales to mimic nature, and sort of recreate what Mother Nature has created for traditional stormwater management. And then we have specifically in the public right of way, we count the road as part of our stormwater conveyance system. So the road surface as well as the curbs, and those curbs channel the water into curb drains. In many of your neighborhoods where we have gravel roads, that's often replaced by ditches because there is no curb or curb drain to collect the the stormwater. Now you can change the slide. And just some ideas of what those might look like. Our gray infrastructure is the traditional stuff underground. It's those big pipes that convey stormwater. The green infrastructure is where we've mimicked Mother Nature using some of those techniques to convey and infiltrate stormwater uptake as excess nutrients. And then within the public right of way, we have, this is a wonderful traditional ditch. It conveys water from point A to point B. Those ditches are usually within the public right of way as well. Next slide. So I mentioned managing expectations and managing sort of what is feasible and what can happen. So the city has a storm drain system that is entirely underground for about 281 miles of pipe. And then if I count all of the above ground conveyance pieces, that brings it to over 500 miles of conveyance systems where we work to transport water, infiltrate stormwater, improve water quality, uptake those excess nutrients using a lot of those green infrastructure techniques. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is that much of the city was built many, many years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago in some instances, and many of those stormwater pipes were built to a smaller standard. What was considered the 10-year event or the 10% annual storm is what we use now currently. Older pipes, however, were designed to pass what would only be considered a 5-year storm. So that's actually a smaller rain event. It is expected that there is a portion that will overflow into streets, low-lying areas, especially areas where we have floodplain and floodway, where there's a road driving right through it, or we're crossing over a creek. So there's an intersect that we need to be cognizant of, that there's always going to be a larger event, and we are doing our best to update the system to increase capacity, but it's not allowed to just sort of build a bigger pipe and run the water downstream. The state regulations and the federal regulations don't allow us to do that. So we work within our confines and boundaries to construct not only conveyance systems, but infiltration systems and detention systems that hold the water where it falls, treating it where it falls, and then releasing it at a slower rate so we don't impact our downstream neighbors negatively. Next slide. So I mentioned that we had 281 miles of pipe. This is sort of how I look at the city stormwater system. It's a pipe map of everything underground. The interesting part of this map is not only the segments of pipe, but it's all of the different colors of pipe. So that dark blue or purple color is what the city owns and manages. You'll see a big swath of sort of a turquoisey blue color through the middle. That's the university. The university owns their own stormwater management system. The red pipes are all privately owned, either by commercial interests, neighborhood associations, homeowners associations, the mall, so as I mentioned, commercial business interests. We do not maintain those. We do not manage those. We do not use public ratepayers' dollars to pay for the maintenance of those. And then a few smaller ones that you can sort of identify through all of the other colors. Washtenaw County Drain Commission has a handful of miles in the system that many of our pipes drain into. And then we also have what's called Waters of the State, and that's the big blue line. That's the Huron River that flows through town. But that is under jurisdiction of Eagle, the Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, and that's the state regulatory agency. All of this to say, the responsibility doesn't fall just on one entity's shoulders. We all have to work in partnership with both private entities, public entities, other governmental entities as well. Next slide. And this is just for my own edification because I always take an opportunity to talk a little bit about creek sheds. If we go step into the Wayback Machine before anything was settled in the Ann Arbor area, we had open creeks that flowed through town, and those creeks still exist, either underground or in some instances they are above ground still, and we've developed around them, so we've kept them daylighted. But it is sort of important to remember that's how the water flows. That's how the stormwater still flows and still sort of functions. So aside from the water flow that's going directly into the Huron River, we have Allen Creek, which is entirely underground. We have Mallett's Creek, which is on the south part of the city. We have Swift Run Creek, which is way far over by Ypsi and down south of town. We have Miller's Creek, which takes up most of like North Campus area. We have Fleming Creek, which is just a little teeny tiny portion of the northeast portion. And then we have Traver Creek to the immediate north. That is collecting a lot of farmland north of town and then flowing through and ultimately discharging to the Huron River. And I would be remiss, we do have Honey Creek on the far west side of town. Honey Creek actually loops back and discharges to the Huron River upstream of town. So it's kind of a unique one where the runoff that is produced in the Honey Creek creek shed sort of gets recycled back up into the Huron River, and then we see it flow through town, on a regular day-to-day basis. So when you think about, how the stormwater functions in the city, it's not just those pipes and stuff underground. It's also sort of these landforms that have created our creek sheds within the city. So next slide. So getting to the nitty gritty, the city of Ann Arbor, specifically systems planning, the unit I'm in, was tasked with completing an analysis of drainage patterns, drainage issues and concerns on unpaved roads. These are gravel roads within the city. We have almost 13 miles of road in the city of Ann Arbor that is owned by the city of Ann Arbor, that are unpaved, that are gravel. Many of these were built as gravel before they were annexed into the city. So before they were sort of as part of the city proper. Many of them were built, I would say, in the 1930s, 1940s, some in the 1950s. And those regulations were different at the time because they were in what we would call township islands or in the township. Those roads were built to the township requirements or the county requirements, not to the city requirements. However, when these areas were either annexed into the city back in the 50s or annexed recently, we've inherited those roads in their condition. In many instances, some of those roads had not been maintained. In many of those instances, there used to be ditches on these roads, and there no longer is due to landscaping practices, property owners filling in ditches, and because it's sort of, I'll say that it's a unique feature in that, yes, we have 13 miles of them, but we also have over 400 miles of paved surface that we manage. So there's a little bit of a dichotomy between what is the best way to maintain and manage these roads, not necessarily paving them, because that's not why we're here. That's not the question that we're asking, and that's not sort of not on the table, if you will. So in our year 3, which we are in now, it's just about 3 miles of unpaved roads. You can see there's some neighborhood areas that have sort of been segmented, but in most instances, these smaller little block long areas also are part of our study area. Next slide, please. Oh, so we've got some close-ups of the study areas. We're calling this area the Westover neighborhood. And I believe there's a little bit on the other side between Lakewood and Sunnywood. In some instances, there may be no houses that front on these roads, but they are roads in our roads layer managed as gravel roads. So some of you may be thinking, well, I didn't even know that was a road, or I thought that was just a back alley. They are listed as roads and they do fall under road funding, road maintenance for the City of Ann Arbor Public Works team. Next slide. So moving to the east, we have a few smaller, maybe end of the, what are those called? End of the cul-de-sac or dead end streets, sort of peppered around what I would call the Old West Side area. Next slide. Continuing east, we have one in sort of the downtown area near Carytown. That is I believe it's a cul-de-sac, if I'm not mistaken. Then next slide. Then we have a few smaller cul-de-sacs running down Packard. So for those of you who like barbecue, this is over near, oh, what's the barbecue place? Ricewood. So I believe Ricewood actually is near one of these smaller areas just off of Packard. Next slide. And then the neighborhood, which we're calling the north of Gettys and south of Gettys. And these are areas that I believe we've spoken with some of these individuals in years past about drainage and water flow and water courses. But you can see this, it's not just in one area. This is sort of peppered all throughout town. So, next slide. So we did take a few of the photos from the study areas, and we wanted to sort of talk a little bit about what we hear and what we've heard in the past. Not that that is going to guide 100% because we are curious now what you've experienced and what you want to share with us. So again, we see roadside rutting, we see a little bit of standing water afterwards, we see some ponding during a rain event. We see water on that bottom right. The water's just not getting to the ditch. It's sort of ponding in the road. Well, there is a ditch on the farther right side. Next slide. So moving forward from here, we have a lot of things that are going to be happening where we're going to be asking questions of you. So the project webpage where I'm hoping many of you were able to click the link from, we do have a link to actually sign up for project updates from the website. So if we update something on the website and generate anything that would be of interest to any of the people in the area, it would automatically generate a notice to you. We are having walkabouts, and I just love saying the word walkabout, but this is your opportunity to have a one-on-one meeting with our engineers on your property site to talk about your drainage concerns. In some instances, you may have reported them previously to the city through either SeeClickFix or the A2 Fix-It app. We have that data and we are using that data to inform of where some of those problem areas are. But oftentimes, as I've learned, it's sort of best to have that face-to-face conversation. And so in the spring, we will be scheduling walkabouts for every individual in the study area that's interested to meet with our engineers one-on-one, talk about what they see when it rains, some of their concerns. And it's really good to get what we call boots on the ground. I want my engineers also to see, firsthand with their own eyes, what's going on out there. And then the third bullet is sort of the exciting part of data gathering. We have an online data collection portal on our website where we can, well, you as the residents can upload photos. You can tell us in your own words anecdotally what's going on and drop pins, and maybe there's dates, maybe because I can't guarantee that it's going to be a torrential downpour in spring 2026, so we won't see what's happening out there when it rains. But many of you may have photos that you'd like to submit, and we want to make sure that that is collected. So that online portal, I believe, is actually live now. I saw someone actually has already submitted some information in the Westover neighborhood. And I believe they submitted it today, which is exciting. But that portal will be open for the next several months as we move towards the walkabouts, getting those scheduled with all of you. Next slide. And so oftentimes, and this is sort of the wrap up, what's going to happen? What are you going to see from us? At the end of this analysis, we are going to identify those areas of concern. We are going to identify areas for recommendations to address those concerns. The recommendations may be work on private property. They may be work on maintenance or operations that the city can do. They may be larger scale ditching projects, reintroducing ditching, establishing, cleaning some culverts. They also may be very large capital projects where maybe there isn't a solution that can be done site specific, but it could be a larger regional pond or regional storage to prevent the water from even getting to some of those downstream areas. And we don't know what those recommendations are because we haven't completed the analysis. The recommendations will come next fall. So just sort of thinking of a timeline. We've already completed the survey of all of the roads. We drove the roads with LiDAR, so essentially a laser analysis and survey of everything within the public right-of-way. So we do have that to a 1-foot contour, which is pretty precise. I will be honest, some of the recommendations may include paving of the gravel roads, but that is not the priority. That is not the primary solution. And the city won't pave unless there is a petition from the residents of that road. So this is sort of a fine line when it comes to stormwater management, because in some instances, there might not be a solution to address all of the stormwater except for putting a pipe under the road. And if we put a pipe under the road, we're going to have to pave the road. And that doesn't sit well with a lot of people. And we understand that, but we are not going to paving as the immediate solution by any means. That's sort of the long range. If nothing else works, we may have to talk about paving. In phase 1 and phase 2 of our project areas, we had actually a large collection of individuals that once they received or once they saw the recommendations, they actually have petitioned the city and they are interested in paving. So I'm not guiding either group either way, but just recognizing that there's going to be a myriad of recommendations from small scale to large scale, and paving is going to be the sort of last resort. Next slide. So what I'm curious, and this is where I believe, Jasmine, we can open up the Q&A button for Zoom. What are some of the questions that you'd like to know from us? We'll do our best to answer them this evening. And if we cannot answer them this evening, we will go back, do some research, and we can post those responses on the phase 3 gravel roads project pages. I believe that's it, Jasmine. So if we want to open up the Q&A.
All right, so I currently just have one question, but feel free to type in your questions as we answer this one. So the first question is from Anonymous. Please, I noted this before, the dirt gravel section of Heather Way, just west of Arlington, is not indicated on your map. We've had correspondence on this. Why isn't the map including this dirt or gravel section?
This is an older map that was used as part of the presentation. This section is absolutely on our map. It is included in our study area.
Okay. All right. Why does putting a pipe under the road equal paving road?
Um, It's a lot of engineering that is going to go sort of above my head even, but putting a pipe underneath the road requires a significant amount of excavation and subbase to place the pipe on. And then driving over the road, we need to make sure that there's appropriate cover so it doesn't damage the pipe underneath.
Okay. Um, Someone asked, will we upload the video as well as the photos? Yes, we will do that. The
No,
slides.
they're asking if they can upload video.
Oh, can they? Oh, I see. Okay. Got you.
I believe the answer is yes. I don't know that, John.
Yeah, I know in year one people uploaded videos. So it was 2 years ago in 2023 there were, or 2024 there were videos uploaded. So I'm sure that the system can handle that.
Okay, thank you. Next question, for phase 1 and 2, what were the outcomes? Is the city moving forward with anything based on the recommendations?
So phase 1 and 2 recommendations are available online. If you go to the hub, the engagement hub websites, and phase 1 and phase 2, those are on there. And we are moving forward with several of the recommendations, looking at feasibility, doing some preliminary engineering analysis, and they are slated in, the phase 1 projects have been put into the capital improvements plan. And so the city is moving forward with many of those recommendations. They all focus around regional stormwater storage, I'll say creating drainage patterns where there were no drainage patterns. So creating conveyance systems as well as creating detention areas as well. So there's some pretty significant projects that came out of phase 1 and phase 2 that the city is moving forward with. Phase 2 just wrapped up like about a month and a half ago, but we are looking at starting some of those preliminary engineering design as well for some of the larger regional recommendations. And then your second question about paving the road, this is this sort of gets to how roads are funded in the city of Ann Arbor and what's called the special assessment district. So the city cannot pay for what's called first time improvements, and paving a road is considered a first time improvement. So we cannot spend our ratepayers' dollars on paving a road. So it would be a petition, and the residents that would benefit pay for that. I don't know costs. I wouldn't know costs at this time. And I would encourage this group to not focus on the assumption that paving is going to be an option, because we primarily we focused our primary efforts on looking for solutions that are natural, that that encourage stormwater management, stormwater water quality improvement, really working with Mother Nature and what we call nature-based solutions or green infrastructure to manage that stormwater. If anyone is interested in the paving process, I believe, Jasmine, we still have the link on the website, and we can even put it on the phase 3 website. That brings you to I'll say the City of Ann Arbor paving web pages, and it lists all of the process of how to petition for your road to be paved.
Thank you, Jen. Next question, is there a way to enhance drainage through storm sewers, et cetera, without paving?
Yes. But that would assume that there is a storm pipe under the road already. And in most, if not all of these neighborhoods, there is no storm pipe, or there's a pipe with no connections to it. So we are looking at stormwater conveyance that does not include pipes specifically. We're looking at, again, more of those green infrastructure, bioswales, ditches where possible. Yeah.
Thank you. Orchard Hills Drive, major issues. What are green options?
I love that you're thinking green. I don't know what the green options are yet because we need to do a full hydrologic analysis of the drainage area. But Tim, when we get into it, I'd love to have your input on what some green options you might like to see.
Okay. You mentioned the creeks in Ann Arbor. Is there any consideration of natural springs that affect road drainage?
A great question. The city does not have record or mapped knowledge of where some of these underground creeks, I'm sorry, the underground seeps exist. Groundwater is not regulated by the city of Ann Arbor. Groundwater sort of has a mind of its own. What we're hoping through the walkabouts as well as the online input for the data collecting. If you know of underground seeps, please let us know because that will definitely help inform our designers. Oftentimes what you see with groundwater seeps, they're seasonal. And they sort of only occur either springtime, fall, maybe only when the ground is frozen and it can't surface to the surface area. So I would love to know where you find them. Um, but then that will help inform our designers.
Okay. We had a trench dug that would drain into a culvert that the city put in. Every time the street is leveled or plowed, they close that drain, even though Jen assured me that would not happen. I'm on Heather Way and we have talked several times. Can we come up with a better solution? There's often water or ice near my mailbox.
Hey, Judy, I'm glad to see you on this call. That's part of what this project is coming up with a larger regional solution. You're on a curve, and I know that there's a lot of limitations with where the water goes. And again, setting expectations of where the water can go once it reaches the lowest point in the neighborhood. But that's what we anticipate through this project is not looking at a small individual site scale solution, but we're going to be looking at a larger regional option. So maybe we can prevent the water from entirely getting down to that low part of the neighborhood.
Okay. Um, Orchard Hills Drive, I would like to review what you have on our neighborhood. How could I do this?
Hmm. Well, what we have that is going to be on the online mapping is a summary of all of the C-Click Fix or A2 Fix It requests that have gone in. Those will be pre-populated. So as you are putting your anecdotal information in or updating everything, we will make sure that that's on there. In addition, when we have our next public meeting, there'll be a summary sort of what we've already heard. And we could actually probably put something like that online. And I'm sort of looking at our consultants to say, hey, let's put something like that online. That's a great recommendation.
Okay. The gravel part of Aberdeen Drive has storm curb drains that seem to work very well. Has there been any concern about this road not draining well?
This is one of our unique locations where there is a pipe and a catch basin underneath the gravel road. Why was it put in? I don't know. It was put in 30, 40, 50 years, 60 years ago in some instances. As for anything specific about Aberdeen, I do not know off the top of my head. Um, we can certainly reach out and see if there is anything, but I am not recalling any specific drainage concerns. And that actually brings up a very good point. While we did notify, and we do want to hear from everyone who lives on a gravel road in the city, almost 13 miles, in many of these instances, and I do say many of these instances, there are no drainage concerns. There are no drainage issues. The drainage is either inconsequential or doesn't affect anyone. So we're not coming into this with a immediate negative. We're thinking about it just to make sure that everyone does have an opportunity to give input. But there may be areas on these gravel roads where we don't have any drainage concerns.
Okay. Will city site visits be given notification to the neighbors?
Yes, the city site visits are going to not only be notified to the neighbors, but there will be a sign up time on the website. You will receive notification when that becomes available. And you will be able to sign up for exactly what time works for you.
Okay. From Orchard Hills Drive, I've lived here for 53 years. Over that time, the city has continued to dump dirt on this road, raising the road level about 5 feet. The city also filled in a drain across the street from my house, which led to road erosion and water in my garage. Is the city likely to fix mistakes like this?
It sounds like there's some maintenance issues and some operations issues that need to be addressed. When we are out there doing our walkabout, I will make sure that we sort of get all of this information, and we can even invite some of our public works staff out to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Filling in the drain definitely has some concern for me, and we can make sure that that gets corrected.
Okay. Okay. I have a lot of observations from the last 30 years. Writing a document is an option. Is there another? Would be willing to meet at, I'm sorry, let me read it again. I have a lot of observations from the last 30 years. Is writing a document an option, or is there another option? I would be willing to meet at City Hall.
We would love to meet with you in person. We can meet out on site. We can schedule something at City Hall. Again, we're more than willing to come out to your house as well. So we can sort of, again, be boots on the ground and see what the site conditions look like. So I believe we can, on the website, my contact information is there as project manager. Please feel free to shoot me an email, and we can certainly schedule something above and beyond that walkabout.
Okay. Um, who do you count as a shareholder or a resident of an unpaved road?
My official answer would be a property owner that is adjacent. So if it is a renter, we would be probably working with the property owner, as they are the ones that um, we would have knowledge of, because we don't necessarily have renters' names in many of these instances. So that would be sort of where we would work with that.
Okay. Will the recommendations that come from the study include ongoing maintenance after the recommendations are completed? For example, keeping culverts cleared?
Yes, the ongoing maintenance will be scheduled sort of as preventative maintenance with our public works team. One thing to note, culverts that are underneath driveways are the responsibility of the property owner. That is the driveway that is owned by the property owner. And if the driveway wasn't there, there would be no culvert. So we cannot clean private culverts. We can clean culverts that are underneath city roads, underneath city, city roads.
Okay. Um, what can be done when the soil under the gravel road is serious clay?
I'm guessing you're talking about maybe some infiltration opportunities with that. The you deleted the question too quickly as I was looking at it,
Okay.
Jasmine. Sorry.
I didn't know that you could see the questions. I'm so sorry. I can
Yeah, I
read it
can.
again.
Um,
What can be done when the soil under the gravel road is serious clay?
It would have to be a case by case analysis, and maybe it's not infiltration, maybe it's more of a conveyance opportunity that we would look at. And again, part of the analysis that we will be doing with this study is looking at the existing soils that are there. And once we get into further preliminary analysis for projects that are proposed, we would be doing soil borings, exact locations.
Okay, on Orchard Hills, there are county storm drains and a huge amount of runoff and erosion during heavy rain events that all goes down the storm drains. All that sediment, I assume, ends up in the Huron River. I'm hoping the river health will be consistent in this analysis, question mark.
Yes, it will be. We're working on this project not simply for water quantity management, but there is a water quality aspect to this project as well.
All right, for a see, click, fix comment, what is the category or categories you look at?
Um, there is a fancy behind the scenes that's just called stormwater, and I get every comment that, so we'll be pulling every single comment that is under stormwater. Things from trash pickup to flooding to clogged catch basins to leaves in the catch basins to broken end sections to mud on the end of the driveway to potholes to small scale flooding to flooding after a rain event. Those are all examples of tags that would be a result of the data pull that I would complete from SeeClickFix.
Okay. Are you aware of the amount of mud that accumulates on the sidewalks in front of houses on Westover and Ferry after rains? It is extremely dangerous for slip and fall accidents.
Yes, we have documents going back several years regarding the issues on Westover and Ferry. So that is part of our historical data.
This is just an FYI, but I live on Aberdeen and there is a drainage concern. My understanding of the road is that the pipe exists, but only on the bottom half of the road, not the top. This is why the top of the road has a bunch of erosion until everything flows into the storm sewer at the bottom. So just an FYI.
Duly noted. Thank you.
Okay. If the city determines a structure is required and paving is required, as you discussed, will the homeowners still need to pay for the road paving, even if homeowners do not want their road paved?
You guys are really diving into the road paving questions. I am not a road engineer and I'm not a road project manager. I believe there are some FAQs specifically answering that question on the road paving portion of the website. I would encourage you to look there. I know that there's a lot of sort of area around petitioning, and it doesn't have to be 100% of the residents who petition in a positive or a negative. So I would encourage you to look at those web pages for that answer.
Okay. Orchid Hills Drive, our problem was always and still is our driveway. However, I echo the comment about the road being raised over several years. We now regularly get water on our yard, which comes straight from the road. Never did until recently. So just a comment.
Thank you. Noted.
All right. So those are all the questions that I have. I'm going to leave it open for a minute or two in case somebody is in the midst of submitting. But if you don't have any questions, I believe that, Jen, this is it, correct?
Absolutely. I do want to make sure to encourage everyone to go look at the engagement hub. We will continue to put project updates there on there as they roll in. You'll be able to sort of see some of what we're doing behind the scenes. So there will be information being put up there between now and next spring. But I would encourage you to definitely sign up for a walkabout and sign up for updates from projects.